Hello and welcome to another episode of Around the Verse. I'm Eric Kyron Davis.
And I'm Dave Haddock.
Today we're getting up close and personal with Twitch Pacheco, exploring the early R&D of planetary cave systems and taking a look at new FPS weapons coming online in Alpha 3.5. But first, let's check out some highlights from the first ever Lorville Rallycross.
In this community event, 10 racers competed in Tumbril Cyclones in a death-defying race across Hurston, with Star Citizen Citano taking home the victory.
Exciting. Now over in development news, as more planets and locations are added to the Stanton system, you are bound to run into interesting characters lurking in their shadows.
That's right. A massive aspect used to create the flavor of each new location are the people who inhabit it.
Yes, let's go to Josh Herman and Jeremiah Lee to take a look at the new mission giver waiting for you when ARCorp arrives. So we're in the process of building our new mission giver for 3.5, Twitch Pacheco, or Tisha Twitch Pacheco.
Good to hear. Let's hope your execution matches your enthusiasm.
Pacheco as a character has a little bit of a richer past where she's gone through some hardships.
A former operative in Blackjack Security, and she got into a horrible accident, causing her to suffer some nerve damage. She was ultimately let go, and she had some animosity towards Blackjack Security because of that.
But she tries to hide that. She doesn't want to put that down. She still wants to kind of be herself, be this badass that she's always been as a soldier. And we wanted to communicate that through her costume, allow some personality through some of her other elements.
Pacheco was heavily inspired by Blade Runner and also a lot of the 80s and 90s sci-fi film. Her also being in the crime syndicate, we didn't want her to be wearing pants or a shirt. We wanted her to be a little bit in protective gear, some combat stuff here and there, but nothing too heavy. She wanted to be a little bit incognito, so she'd have like a hood to cover her face or her identity a little bit.
So with Pacheco's hair, the number one thing that we wanted to try was a very different style. First off, it gives her personality and makes her stand out, and it feels like it fits her to begin with. But also, we wanted to make sure that we were able to do that with our new hair tech.
I wanted to look special, and I wanted to not give her just a regular plain Jane type of hair. I wanted her to have a little bit of possibly hidden culture, and she looks badass, man.
So since this is all very work in progress with our hair pipeline, and we're trying to finalize that now, if it's not completed for 3.5, we're not going to let that stop us for the release of Pacheco in 3.5. So I hope that when players see Pacheco and that they're excited and that they get to see a new style, a new type of character. We have a lot of already bad guys, and this is going to add to that group, but we're excited to kind of bring a different flavor of bad guy to you guys. So you were there when they filmed Twitch,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yep, back in 2016.
That's awesome. So, was there anything unique about her, especially like with her performance or anything?
It was actually the first one we shot in that shoot, which was a fun thing, but she's got kind of a chip on her shoulder, and hence why she's sort of gone over to the dark side and is sort of working for the criminals that she had been previously locking up. And the actress really kind of took that and ran with it.
Walk away and don't come back. We see you anywhere near our operations, you're dead.
A lot of her line readings with that rage and that kind of anger and pathos to it to really bring the character to life.
That's awesome. And then you were just in the UK filming again. What were you out there doing?
We were doing some pickup stuff for Squadron 42, kind of little character vignette stuff for the players to hopefully discover. And we were also doing some PU kind of wildline character pickups to help support kind of the law system that Design's working on.
Exciting life you lead, Dave.
I'm very tired.
That's right. Awesome. So there's also some radical new firepower coming to the PU in Alpha 3.5. Here's Johnny DeCevius and Jacob Mathis with details on some of the instruments of destruction being unleashed on the PU in 3.5.
We've been working on another assault rifle, so it's the Gemini S71. This is the first weapon, aside from the sniper rifles, that we'll be putting out that ships with the scope. So this is a real high precision, slightly longer range rifle. Default fire mode is single shot. It's a little bit more precise. There's no full auto on it, and your kind of closer range options, the burst mode on there as well. We've got the Castac Arms Coda, which is the third pistol we're putting out live. I think the real difference you'll see with this one is the amount of power that it puts out. Like, everything about it just kind of screams power. You only get 6 rounds in a magazine. It looks like it's going to tear your hands off when you shoot this thing. It's just like the recoil's super beefy, the sound's super beefy as well.
So I've been working on the Gemini S71 and the new Castac Coda. These are two really good examples of a weapon that follows the more traditional, robust weapons pipeline that we've established, as well as a new weapon that requires and has had technical hurdles which is the coda. So we're going to go dive into the engine. We'll find out, have a look at these. One of the core design structures that we've put in place when it comes to ballistic weapons is to follow these muzzle brakes. As we can see here, we can see the vents where smoke would come out, and we try to obey that as close as we can to try and follow real life. So just to highlight, we just turn up the emissive just to really show what we're talking about here. On the left side, we can really see that the particles actually emit where the vents are, similar to what you would see in real life. And this is what really gives weapons in Star Citizen that really nice, realistic appearance. The coda by Castak Arms is slightly different. As long as being a pistol, it's also a lot more different. We saw the muzzle brake very fluid and that nice pinpoint accuracy that you would see with rifles, but with the pistol it's meant to have that whole hand cannon feel and very punchy. The main thing that made the coda stray from our traditional weapons pipeline was that it just needed to have that aggressiveness that Castak Arms really want to try and get. One of the main technical hurdles that we had with the coda pistol was the shell ejecting from the back, where we had the shell casing colliding between the weapon and the helmet of the player. This caused multiple issues. Sometimes it would look right on planet, but it would look very wrong in space, where it will start getting trapped between the helmet and the pistol. That was one of the main things that really defined the coda was this shell ejection. So the F-71 and the Castak Arms coda has actually now been finished and it's gone through the review process and should now be getting into the hands of the backers shortly.
Last but not least, the Planetary Development Team has been doing some R&D on creating underground cave systems for the persistent universe.
It's quite rare that we get to showcase something this early on in the process, and it's actually a cool chance to show the kind of blue sky experimentation we often do in development. Here are environmental artists Patrick Gladys and Florian Solonek with more.
Imagine you're driving around in your Cyclone on some moon, right? And you discover this very odd-looking geological structure that looks a bit out of place. So you go and investigate, and you notice, oh, there's actually a crevice. There's some path leading somewhere. You will never know what's gonna happen next. It could either be a tiny entrance and a gigantic cave system behind that, right? Or just a super large sinkhole that allows you to fly in with your ship, land there, but you realize, okay, that was it, right? Could happen too. When we first got told that we should investigate more in, the development of caves, it was quite exciting because we were waiting for this for a long time. It's something that the entire art team really wanted to work on. We have actually not built any new tech for what we are using to build procedural caves right now. The stuff that we use is already known for anyone who has looked into truck stops and how these are built. But the application is a completely different one.
So when we started doing R&D for the caves, we just needed some content and some shapes that we could put in our caves. And so what we have in here is design reserved areas that could be spawned at specific spots that we decide where they should be spawned in. So in here we tested with like an NPC that can be spawned on this little rock, or something that could be mineable, or in this case something that you could climb on and walk inside to grab something in there.
Once you enter the cave, the next thing that you will see as a player, or you should see as a player, is a very clear path that is there for you to traverse.
Specific room, this is more of a hero style room that we had to work with. This was a specific test with pathing and the gameplay reserved areas. So we have this blue path that you can see here. This is the area that needs to stay empty for the player to walk on. So we can dress everything around it, but needs to keep this empty. And the orange areas, they are the design reserved areas. Designers can place specific objects in here that can either be generated or basically be part of this cavern and never change.
The cool thing is one chamber could either have multiple paths or just one path. If it's multiple paths, depending on the generation of that cave, right? Because we will generate maybe 1,000 caves and then choose 3 of them and then place them on the planet. But depending on where the generation was in the seed of our entire generation, Some of these paths could be blocked or freed up, but you never know. So it's not like it's going to repeat a lot. So that's really cool.
When we create all the elements that are necessary for our cave generation, similar to the truck stops, create a graph that we have to work with. We work with this procedural layer tool and pick a seed and just generate everything. So when I change the seed in here, I will basically get a different result. We then have the possibility to generate assets on top of that, which are the props that are needed to finish the whole process.
The first couple of results that we got were really cool because we didn't know what the cave would look like in the end.
So in here we have something that we've put in one of the canyons of Daymar, just to see how the verticality works with a larger structural setup. So basically same room setup, but different entrance with different seats that allow us to spawn different elements in there. And in here we've got one of the sinkhole type caverns, and in here you can basically see how larger structures can work with a planet setup.
Once you traverse further through the cave, you'll notice, okay, I can't just run through it because there are obstacles. I'll have to climb, I'll have to crouch. This is the typical caving experience. People squeezing through tiny crevices where most people would get super claustrophobic. It might squeeze you down like crazy, and it might even be underwater or stuff like that, right? So many challenges that we try to implement when it comes to caves. It could be, if properly done, a fresh experience on every single cave that you enter, and not feel like, oh, it's the same thing over and over and over again with the same layout and the same props and all of that stuff.
Thanks, guys. And again, this is a very, very early sneak peek at this tech, so we're not quite ready to share just when you'll see caves and Star Citizen universe at this time, but keep an eye on the public roadmap for updates in the future. And I mean, this is the usual standard process.
Anytime some tech comes online that we've been planning for, but really needs that time for creatives to be excited or really dig into something, that's what this is for, right? And that's what the R&D is more excited for. Once you get out of R&D and you know what you're making, and it's a pretty set box to kind of produce and get it done. But yeah, this is a little early, I think, to show people this, but we were, the excitement was palpable when we go with, I think, the last review, so it was time, we really wanted to share it with you guys. So anyway, speaking of the roadmap, tomorrow's update, you'll see the Banu Defender move from 3.5 to 3.6. This ship is our first foray into this type of organic design that will set Banu technologies apart from other cultures in Star Citizen universe, and utilizing both our ship and character pipelines together in pretty exciting ways. So for this reason, we're going to give the Banu Defender a little bit more time before it makes its way into your hands.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting to see all these unique kind of design cues kind of come together.
Totally. And that's about all for this week. Don't forget to join us tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific for special Reverse the Verse game dev with character creative director Josh Herman. Now, we've seen Josh create all manner of creatures in the past, but this time he'll be creating a piece of armor with your input.
Should be really, really fun.
Not our input. Not our input.
Not ours,
our
no.
input, yeah.
As always, thanks to our subscribers for sponsoring all of this video content.
And thanks to all the backers for making the development of our games possible.
Until next time, we'll see you
around the verse.
Thanks for watching. For the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42, you can subscribe to our channel, or you can check out some of the other shows, and you can also head to our website at www.robertsspaceindustries.com. Thank you very much for watching.